Hey, folks, after lurking around here for what feels like forever, 27M, figured it's time to share what's been going on with me lately. Here's the deal, until recently, I thought I was marrying the love of my life, Tessa, 26F. We'd been together for 4 years, and for most of that time, I was sure we were solid. But now I'm sitting here wondering how I didn't see this coming sooner. Tessa and I met through a mutual friend at a birthday party. She was funny, confident, and had this no-nonsense attitude that I really liked. I'd dated before, but no one clicked with me the way she did. We hit it off fast and moved in together after a year. Things felt natural, like we were on the same page about everything: careers, marriage, starting a family someday. She was freelancing as a graphic designer, and I worked as a project manager at a tech company, so our schedules synced up well. Life wasn't flashy, but it was good. We'd been talking about getting married for a while, but it wasn't until last year that I popped the question. Nothing fancy, just a quiet dinner at home, just the two of us. Tessa seemed thrilled. She cried, hugged me, and said yes. That night, we started planning our future: a fall wedding, a small guest list, and this cozy little venue by the lake. It felt like everything was falling into place. Or so I thought. The first red flags weren't huge, obvious things; they were small, sneaky little cracks that I shrugged off because I didn't want to overthink. For example, Tessa's excitement about wedding planning started fading after a few months. At first, she was all in, sending me Pinterest boards, scrolling through wedding dresses, and asking me about little details like if I preferred tulips or roses for the centerpieces. But then it just stopped. I'd ask her stuff like, "Hey, have you decided on your bridesmaids yet?" and she'd brush it off. "Not yet, I'm still thinking about it," she'd say, over and over again. The same with her dress, the cake, even the music. Every decision we'd been so excited about just became this thing she wanted to delay. "There's still time," she'd tell me. It was like the wedding was an afterthought. At the time, I told myself it was just stress. Wedding planning can be overwhelming, right? Plus, Tessa had a lot going on with her work. I figured she'd snap out of it eventually. What I didn't realize was that her lack of enthusiasm wasn't about the wedding, it was about us. The real slap in the face came one night when we were hanging out with some friends. Someone brought up that stupid TikTok game, "We Listen, But We Don't Judge." You've probably seen it. It's that game where you answer personal questions and everyone's supposed to keep a straight face and not judge, although everyone judges anyway. Everything was going fine until someone asked, if you could relive one relationship, which one would it be? Without even thinking, Tessa said, "Oh, probably Dylan." Just like that. Dylan, her college ex. The one who cheated on her. The second she said it, the room got awkwardly quiet. She laughed nervously and tried to backtrack, saying, "I mean, not like I'd actually want to, it's just, a big part of my past." I wanted to call her out right there, but we were with friends, so I let it slide. Later, when we were alone, I asked her about it. "What was that about Dylan? Why would you say you'd relive that relationship?" She just shrugged it off like it was no big deal. "It was a stupid game, Liam. Don't take it so seriously." She smiled and changed the subject. I didn't push it because, honestly, I didn't want to start a fight over something that might have been nothing. But deep down, it stuck with me. After that, her behavior got harder to ignore. She was on her phone more often, scrolling through her messages with this sly little smile. She started making vague excuses about why she couldn't hang out or why she'd cancel plans at the last minute. "Oh, sorry, I just have a lot of work to catch up on tonight," she'd say. Or, "I promised my mom I'd visit this weekend." The excuses weren't exactly suspicious, but they were piling up. It felt like I was suddenly less of a priority. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. I got home early from work, excited to spend the evening with Tessa. I was thinking we could order in and binge-watch something, just a low-key night. When I walked in though, the vibe was off. She was sitting on the couch with her laptop, but she wasn't working, she was just sitting there, staring at the screen, completely zoned out. "Hey, I'm home," I said, trying to break the tension. "You're early," she replied, like that was a bad thing. I brushed it off and went to the kitchen to start making dinner, but the silence in the house was suffocating. Usually, she'd be asking me how my day was or telling me about hers, but tonight, nothing. Finally, I turned around and asked, "Everything okay?" She closed her laptop and looked at me. "Actually, there's something I need to talk to you about." And just like that, my stomach dropped. You know that feeling when you know something bad's about to happen, but you can't stop it? That was me, standing there like an idiot with a spatula in my hand. I walked over and sat across from her. "All right," I said. "What's going on?" She hesitated like she was trying to find the right words, then she just came out with it. "I've been thinking about us, and about Dylan." I swear I almost laughed. "Dylan? Are you serious? What about him?" She bit her lip and avoided my eyes. "I think I need some time to figure things out. I want to take a break to see if there's still something there with him." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want to take a break so you can date your ex? Are you out of your mind?" "Tessa, we're engaged." "It's not like that," she said quickly, like she thought she could smooth this over. I need to know if I'm making the right choice with you. And if it doesn't work out, I promise I'll come back." That's when I realized just how deep her audacity ran. She thought I'd sit around and wait for her to figure out if I was good enough. At that moment, something inside me shifted. I didn't blow up, didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at her, wondering how the hell I didn't see this coming. I didn't even know how to respond at first. My fiancé just told me she wanted to take a break to explore things with her ex, Dylan. What do you even say to that? Finally, I managed to ask, "So what exactly does this break mean to you?" My voice came out calm, way calmer than I felt. She straightened up a little, like she'd been preparing for this conversation. "I think we need some space to figure things out. I'll take some time to see if what I'm feeling about Dylan is real, and you can take time to reflect on us too." I couldn't believe the nerve. "Wait," I said, leaning forward. "You're saying you need to date your ex, but I need to reflect on us? What kind of backwards logic is that?" Tessa sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. "It's not about you doing something wrong, Liam. This is about me figuring out what I need." I felt she had rehearsed this, the way she was talking, the way she avoided eye contact. It was like she'd already decided this was happening, and now she just needed me to roll with it. "You know this sounds insane, right?" I said. "You don't just put your fiancé on hold while you go play, what if with some guy who treated you like garbage?" Her face hardened, and for the first time, I saw just how stubborn she could be. "I'm not asking for permission, Liam. I'm telling you what I need." That one hit different. I wasn't just sad anymore, I was angry. I stood up and started pacing, trying to calm myself down. "So what, Tessa? You're just going to pack a bag and head over to Dylan's place? Is that your big plan?" "No," she snapped. "It's not like that. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I need clarity before we move forward. I owe it to myself to know I'm making the right decision." "You owe it to yourself?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "And what about what you owe me? We're engaged, Tessa. We're supposed to be building a life together, and now you're telling me you need to test drive your ex to make sure I'm good enough?" "I never said you weren't good enough," she shot back, her voice rising. "But if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, I have to be certain. And right now, I'm not." That was it. It wasn't just that she wanted to explore things with Dylan, it was that she wasn't sure about me. After 4 years together, after all the plans we'd made, she still wasn't sure. It hit me all at once, she didn't even realize how hurtful and ridiculous her request was. She thought this was reasonable, like I'd just sit there while she worked through whatever nonsense was spinning in her head. I stopped pacing and looked at her. Really looked at her. "You know what?" "Sure," I said, my tone flat. "Take your break." She blinked, caught off guard by how easily I agreed. "Liam, I'm not trying to hurt you. I need space to figure things out. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. All right. If that's what you need. She hesitated like she was expecting me to argue, to fight for her. When I didn't, she stood up, grabbed her laptop, and mumbled, "I'll stay at my mom's for a bit. This isn't forever. We'll talk when I've had some time." Okay, I said simply. She glanced at me, unsure of how to respond, then disappeared into the bedroom. I could hear her moving around, throwing stuff into a bag. I stayed on the couch, calm on the surface, but my mind was already turning. If she wanted her break so bad, fine. Let her have it. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. She was gone, probably thinking she'd left me here to wait and wonder. Little did she know, I wasn't going to just sit around. She could have her fantasy, but I had my own plans now. I'll update when I've put some things in motion. This isn't going to end the way she thinks it will. Update 1, thanks for all your comments and suggestions on my last post. A lot has happened this week, and I wanted to share how things are progressing. First, let me say that the support from this community has been incredible. Many of you suggested I shouldn't just sit around waiting, and you were absolutely right. I've been busy putting things in motion. The first thing I did was call my buddy Noah. He's been my best friend since college, and he's the kind of guy who doesn't sugarcoat things. After hearing the whole story, he came over with pizza and we spent the entire night strategizing. Dude, you realize she's going to try to crawl back once things don't work out with Dylan, right? Noah pointed out. He was right, of course. The more we talked, the clearer it became that I needed to be proactive. This wasn't about revenge, it was about taking control of my life back. So I started with the house. Here's something Tessa doesn't seem to remember, it's completely in my name. She loves to act like it's our home, always going on about the curtains she picked and the paint colors she chose, but I'm the one paying the mortgage. I called a real estate agent first thing Monday morning. The agent came by to assess the property, and we decided to list it immediately. The market in our area is hot right now, and we already have several interested buyers. Tessa has no idea, she probably thinks I'm sitting here in our shared home, waiting for her to figure out her feelings. Next came the systematic removal of her presence from my life. You know, all those live, laugh, love signs she insisted on putting up? Gone. The fancy throw pillows she had to have? Donated. Her clothes and personal items that she left behind? I boxed them all up meticulously. But here's where I got strategic. Instead of just dropping her stuff off at her mom's place or letting her come get it, I hired a moving company. They delivered everything to her mother's house with a simple note, "Here's your stuff. Good luck with Dylan." I know some of you might think this is petty, but I disagree. I'm not being vindictive, I'm being efficient. She wanted space to figure things out? Well, now she has it. Literally. The real interesting part came when mutual friends started asking questions. Instead of playing the victim or badmouthing her, I simply told the truth. Tessa decided she needed to explore things with her ex before committing to marriage. I decided I deserve better than being someone's backup plan. You should see how people react to that. No drama, no accusations, just facts. It's fascinating how quickly the narrative shifts when you don't try to control it. I've also started making moves at work. Applied for a position in our West Coast office that I've been eyeing for a while. If the house sells, looking very likely, and I get this job, I'll be starting fresh on the other side of the country. Tessa has tried reaching out a few times this week. First with casual texts like, "Hope you're doing okay," and then increasingly concerned messages as she realized I was actually making changes instead of just waiting around. Yesterday, she called in a panic after her mom told her about the boxes being delivered. "What are you doing? Why are you acting like this is over?" I kept my response simple, because it is over, Tessa. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. She started crying, saying she just needed time to sort things out, that I was being hasty, that this wasn't what she meant when she asked for a break. What did you expect? I asked her. That I'd sit here like a faithful puppy while you test drove your ex? That's not how this works. But what if I realize you're the one I want, she sobbed. Then you'll have learned a valuable lesson about not taking people for granted, I replied and ended the call. The funny thing is, I don't even feel angry anymore. I feel free. Every box I pack, every change I make, it's like I'm reclaiming pieces of myself that I didn't even realize I'd given away. Noah came by again yesterday to help me start packing up the house. He noticed the change in me too. You seem different, he said. More focused. He's right. I am different. When Tessa first dropped her bombshell about wanting to explore things with Dylan, I felt like my world was crumbling. Now I realize it wasn't my world crumbling, it was just the false reality I'd been living in finally falling away. I've got more plans in motion, but I'll save those for the next update. For now, I'll just say this, sometimes the best response to someone treating you like an option is to remove yourself from their list of choices entirely. Stay tuned, this story isn't over yet, and I have a feeling Tessa's realizing that her break to figure things out isn't going to play out quite the way she imagined. Update 2, I appreciate all the support on my last update. Things have escalated quite a bit, and I want to share how the situation has developed. Remember how I mentioned applying for that West Coast position? Well, I got it. The timing couldn't be better, the house is under contract, with closing scheduled for next month. But that's just the beginning. What's really interesting is how Tessa's Dylan exploration is playing out. Through mutual friends, I learned that their rekindled romance isn't exactly the fairy tale she imagined. Apparently, for years haven't changed him much, he's still the same unreliable guy who cheated on her in college. But here's where it gets good, Tessa's been trying to control the narrative on social media. She's been posting these vague, inspirational quotes about finding yourself and following your heart. So I decided to play that game too, but with a twist. I made a single, factual post, life update, excited to announce I've accepted a position in San Francisco. Sometimes when one door closes, better ones open. Looking forward to this new chapter. The comments and messages started flooding in. People were congratulating me, asking about the move, and of course, wondering about Tessa. I kept my responses simple and honest, we're no longer together. She wanted to explore other options, so I'm exploring mine too. This triggered a fascinating chain reaction in our social circle. Remember those friends who were on the fence about the situation? Well, watching me handle this with grace while Tessa posts cryptic relationship quotes really shifted the dynamic. Then came the professional fallout. Tessa's freelance design work relies heavily on referrals and networking. Our mutual contact in the tech industry, Sarah, 29F, who used to send a lot of clients Tessa's way, reached out to me. I need to know what happened, Sarah said over coffee. Tessa's telling people you're having a temporary separation to grow individually, but something feels off. I showed Sarah the note Tessa left about wanting to date Dylan. Sarah's expression said it all. She did not. By the end of that week, several potential clients had postponed their projects with Tessa. Not because I said anything negative, but because who wants to work with someone who treats commitments so casually? Tessa noticed the shift. Her texts became more frequent and increasingly desperate. Why are you telling people about Dylan? You're ruining my reputation. This isn't fair, I just needed time to think. I replied to the last one, you got what you wanted, time and space. How I spend mine isn't your concern anymore. Then came the turning point. Dylan, in his infinite wisdom, posted a photo of them together at the same restaurant where we had our first date. Tessa was clearly trying to recreate our history with him. It was both sad and hilarious. The post didn't stay up long, but the damage was done. Our friends saw it, and the last few people who were sympathetic to Tessa's finding myself narrative lost respect for her. Even her own sister messaged me. I'm so sorry about how she's handling this. You deserve better. The most satisfying part? I didn't have to do anything vindictive. Just lived my life openly and honestly while Tessa tried to play both sides. The truth has a way of coming out. Yesterday, she showed up at my office. Apparently, Dylan's already shown his true colors, flirting with other women, being unreliable, the same old story. She was in tears, saying she made a huge mistake. I was scared of commitment, she sobbed. I thought I needed to know if there was something better out there, but I was wrong. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I just looked at her calmly. No, Tessa. The best thing that ever happened to me was you showing your true colors before we got married. She tried to argue, saying we could fix this, that she'd go to counseling, that she'd prove she could be trusted again. I just shook my head. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about Dylan anymore. This is about you thinking you could keep me as a backup while you explored your options. That's not love, that's convenience. She left my office devastated, but I felt lighter than ever. The house closes next week, most of my stuff is packed, and my new life in San Francisco starts in a month. The funny thing is, some people think I'm being too harsh. Everyone makes mistakes, they say. But this wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Multiple choices, actually. Every time she texted Dylan, every time she lied about where she was, every moment she spent planning to put our relationship on hold, those were all choices. I've got one more update coming after the move is complete, but for now, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Next update will be after the move. Stay tuned, the final chapter of this story is going to be good. Update 3, thanks for following my journey. This will be my final update, and I've got some interesting developments to share. San Francisco is everything I hoped it would be. My new apartment has an amazing view of the bay, and the tech scene here is incredible. The team at my new office is fantastic. It's refreshing to be around people who are focused on growth and innovation rather than drama. But let me back up and fill you in on how everything wrapped up back home. The house closing went smoothly, sold above asking price, actually. Watching Tessa's reaction when she found out through mutual friends was interesting. She apparently didn't believe I'd actually sell our house until she drove by and saw the new owners moving in. Here's where things got really interesting. Remember Dylan? Well, he reached out to me, of all people. Sent me this long message about how he never meant to cause problems, and how Tessa had reached out to him first, months before she asked for the break. Turns out Tessa had been planning her little exploration for quite a while. She'd been messaging Dylan for months, carefully laying the groundwork for her backup plan. The irony? Dylan ended things with her because, in his words, if she could do this to you, she could do it to anyone. The professional fallout for Tessa has been significant. Remember all those clients she had lined up? Most of them found other designers. Not because I said anything, but because word gets around in the industry. One of her biggest clients actually reached out to me. We heard what happened with the engagement. We're looking for someone who can commit to long-term projects. Do you know any reliable designers? I recommended a talented friend of mine. She got the contract. Karma, I guess. Tessa's social media meltdown has been something to behold. First came the angry posts about toxic people who can't handle growth, then the sad quotes about losing your soulmate, and finally, desperate attempts to show everyone how happy she is. The last one was particularly interesting. She posted about starting her own design agency. 3 days later, she was sending out job applications. Last week, her sister reached out to me again. Apparently, Tessa's been staying with their parents, claiming she needs to heal from our breakup. The sister's exact words, she really thought you'd wait for her. When you sold the house and moved, it broke her fantasy completely. The most vindicating moment came during a video call with our old friend group. They were updating me on local gossip, and someone mentioned seeing Tessa at a coffee shop, trying to explain to a potential client why her portfolio website was down. Apparently, she forgot I was the one who set it up and maintained it. The hosting subscription expired, and she couldn't figure out how to restore it. Not my problem anymore. My new life here is taking shape nicely. I've joined a local rock climbing gym, started taking Spanish classes, and even adopted a dog from a local shelter. His name is Zeus, and he's better company than my ex-fiancé ever was. The tech community here is incredibly welcoming. Last week, I was invited to speak at a developer conference, something that would have never happened if I'd stayed in my comfort zone back home. It's amazing how much you can achieve when you're not carrying dead weight. I did have one final interaction with Tessa. She emailed me about some old photos she wanted from our shared cloud storage. I had already downloaded what I wanted and deleted the account weeks ago. Her email was telling. I know you're trying to erase me from your life, but you can't just delete our memories. Those 4 years meant something. My response was simple, you're right. Those years taught me what I don't want in a partner. Thanks for the lesson. Some mutual friends think I'm being too harsh, that I should be more understanding of her moment of confusion. But here's the thing, it wasn't a moment. It was a calculated decision to keep me as a safety net while she pursued what she thought might be a better option. The biggest lesson I've learned from all this? Sometimes the worst things that happen to you lead to the best outcomes. If Tessa hadn't shown her true colors, I might have married her, only to discover her real character years later, maybe with kids in the mix. Instead, I'm in a beautiful city, with a great job, making new friends, and actually excited about my future. The pain of betrayal has been replaced by gratitude for the bullet dodged. To everyone who followed this story and offered advice, thank you. Your support helped me stay strong when I might have wavered. And to anyone going through something similar, remember, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait around hoping they'll change their mind about you. Life is too short to be anyone's backup plan. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and create something better for yourself. That's all for now, folks. This chapter of my life is officially closed, and I couldn't be happier about the next one beginning. Take care, and thanks for everything.